This is Let's Talk Iowa, a podcast about the gap between Iowa's policies and the families living through them. Thank you for tuning in. Here in Iowa, families like mine are fighting through a broken mental health system. Let's talk about it. Welcome back to Let's Talk Iowa. A couple of days ago, the weight of everything just hit me. I was walking upstairs from my makeshift studio area in the basement, just trying to get back to the rest of the day, and I stopped about halfway up the stairs. I just put my forehead on the wall. The physical act of lifting one foot after the other at that moment felt like an impossible burden, because the mental and emotional weight of this battle, the battle that many Iowa families face, the battle for my son's mental health care, it was just pressing down so hard. I couldn't move. We had just received information that every single option, both here in Iowa and out of state, had seemingly been exhausted for my son. And the last desperate option that, if you've been following my show, I'm not afraid to go wherever I need to go. That went all the way up to the director's level. That was, in a lot of meetings made out to be a pretty sure thing. And there was just some formalities we had to kind of tick off. That changed. It wasn't looking good anymore, and it's not looking good. And as I stood there, forehead against that cool, unforgiving plaster wall, my mind wasn't blank like I wish it was. It was just reeling from a different phone call I'd had earlier in the day. Another kid, another Iowa family, completely denied critical services for a bogus bureaucratic reason that everybody, from the frontline social workers to the kids' parents, they saw right through it. Usually here on Let's Talk Iowa, we're diving into policy, dissecting some of these systems and talking with experts and trying to bring you some powerful interviews and discussions with advocates where we're focused on solutions, on how to fix what's broken. But today I want to talk about something much more personal, something that's tied directly to those moments of utter despair. Managed Care Organizations, or MCOs. And I'm going to be upfront. To truly understand the dynamic, that the power imbalance and the sheer frustration families feel when dealing with them, we're going to use a strong analogy. And we're going to talk about the MCO system as if it were the mafia. Now, I'm not saying that anyone is out there breaking kneecaps, right? No, it's more they break spirits and hearts and souls. But when you look at the tactics, the backroom deals, the pressure, the arbitrary rules, and the way families are left feeling powerless, the comparison, it feels disturbingly accurate. So let's rewind a bit. Let's go back to the basics. What is an MCO? In Iowa, the state contracts with these private insurance companies to manage our Medicaid program. And the idea on paper was to create efficiency and to save taxpayer money, which, I'm fully for. I do agree with efficiency in government, and I do think it's a great idea to save taxpayer money wherever we can. These private companies are what we refer to as the MCOs, and currently in Iowa, there's two major players. There's Iowa Total Care and AmeriHealth, Caritas Iowa, AmeriHealth for short. They are the gatekeepers. They are the ones who approve or deny services for our most vulnerable citizens. Low-income Iowans, children with disabilities, Medicare-eligible children, individuals with severe mental health illness. They are, in effect, the family, right? And to get the care that your actual biological or adoptive or foster family or whatever it is legally entitled to, you have to go through them. And this is where the problem begins. These MCOs, they operate on a business model. Their primary goal is to make a profit. They get a set amount of money from the state for each person they cover in a system that's called capitation. Every dollar they don't spend on healthcare is a dollar that goes back to their bottom line. Well, this creates a fundamental built-in conflict of interest. Their financial success is often directly at odds with providing comprehensive and sometimes expensive care to people who need it, the people who honestly need it the most. And that's when it starts to feel right there like you're dealing with an organization that makes its own rules with no real accountability to the people of Iowa. You, the parent or the patient, you become a supplicant. You need a specific therapy for your child? Your doctor, the expert, they recommended it? Yeah, you better approach the Don. An MCO has the final say. You submit your request and it's denied? The reason? Not medically necessary. Or, we should really try this less costly alternative first. Or they don't even give you a damn answer, right? It's just, yep, not there. Sorry. Move on. Now, it's an offer you can't refuse, right? The offer of a lesser, cheaper service or no service at all. Just the other day, I had a conversation with a trusted acquaintance, someone who is knowledgeable about our current system, and they recounted a situation to me where in the same few-day span, a facility that is supposed to help struggling youth, mind you, that's their purpose for being, that's the reason they get paid money from MCOs, they rejected a client because they had mental health needs and not behavioral needs. The horror. I mean, can you imagine that? A mental health facility actually encountering mental health. And then almost immediately afterwards, this same facility, same one, not different, same, actually got rid of, kicked out, ejected another client for having, wait for it, behavioral needs and not mental health needs. I mean, because clearly the two are mutually exclusive, right? It's ridiculous. It's like a restaurant saying, hey, sorry here, we only serve things that aren't food. And then turning around and kicking someone out because their order was food. It's truly a masterclass in logic. Apparently, in Iowa's managed care system, children are not allowed to be so inconvenient as to exhibit both mental health and behavioral needs. Or perhaps they're only admitted if their needs precisely match a square peg or a round hole situation. But then they're promptly shown the door when they dare to be, a whole human being in crisis. It's not about care. It's about checking arbitrary boxes, or more accurately, finding any box not to check. Now, this isn't theoretical for me. My family entered into a special needs adoption, a subsidized adoption with the state of Iowa, with the explicit promise that if and when my children's needs developed, we would have the state's full support. Oh, young gullible me. Now, am I saying I would go back and change it? No, I love my children, but I wish I was better informed. I wish that the state of Iowa, HHS, would have been honest and said something like, hey, when those future needs develop, we're going to talk a lot of talk. We're going to, try to hide in the smoke and hide in the shadows and just maybe take a few of your phone calls and say we'll get back to you. We might string you along. There's this carrot we have tied on a stick. We'll just lead it in front of you. But when, the rubber meets the road, we're going to be a little busy kind of not doing our job. I guess then at least I could say I went into this with both eyes open, right? I knew what I was expecting. But that's the system that we have. And so this promise has been broken at every single turn. And it's often with the Iowa Department of Health and Human Services acting less like an oversight authority for these MCOs and more like a compromised precinct captain. On Let's Talk Iowa, we often talk about the profound challenges facing families in our state, the gaps in support, the systemic hurdles, and the deep need for real resources and advocacy. And that's why I want to shine a light on an organization doing incredible, vital work right here in Iowa, the Iowa Family Resource Center, or IFRC. The IFRC stands as a beacon for families striving to navigate complex systems, prevent child abuse, and build stronger, healthier homes. They understand that strong communities are built on strong families, and they're committed to providing the education, support, and advocacy needed to help Iowa's children thrive. Whether you're a parent seeking guidance, a foster or adoptive family needing support, or simply an Iowan who believes every child deserves a safe and nurturing environment, the IFRC offers a hand up, not just a hand out. They are actively working to fill the very gaps we discuss on this podcast. To learn more about their invaluable programs, to access resources, or to find out how you can support their mission through volunteering or a donation, please visit them online at iowafrc.org. That's iowafrc.org. Let's support those who are building up Iowa families, one child, one parent, one community at a time. Visit iowafrc.org today. It's more like they're acting like a paid off, dare I say? compromised precinct captain enabling the MCO's game, you feel powerless. You can appeal, of course. You can fight it, but you're up against a massive organization with teams of lawyers and adjusters, all while you're trying to just find care for your family, for a loved one. You have to fight for even the most basic information. They say things like, hey, we're a team. They don't mean it. They want you to shut up and go away so they can get money. If you go away and you're quiet, they get paid more. It's a great thing, right? So it's kind of they just delay. They delay. And families like ours, if you're listening to this and you're involved in the system, families like ours, they know that we get tired. They know the drain that this system puts on us. They help design it, let's be honest. And so you have to fight. My family has experienced this firsthand for years. I've talked before about how I've sat in countless meetings with MCOs, with HHS, with every other alphabet there is, right? Every letter organization, every acronym, they've been in these meetings. And we've been trying to get my son the care he desperately needs. Desperately. No question about it. Everyone in the meeting is, yep, he needs care. So I'd ask questions like, well, who do we contact about, this specific issue? And the answer is always the same. I don't know. Lots of people. So I'd push. All right, give me a number. Any phone number. Just give me one of them. I'd get another shrug. Well, there isn't just one. There's lots. This isn't just bureaucratic incompetence. I mean, that's a large part of it. But this is a system overseen by HHS that allows MCOs to operate in a shadow. It makes it impossible for families to find the point person for recourse. It's almost as if the precinct captain has been paid off to look the other way, or at least to make it incredibly difficult for citizens to file a complaint against the local family business. For example, I knew there was a document called a single case agreement, or SCA, and this single case agreement governed the specifics of my son's care. It was the negotiated rates and the terms of the service that the facility was supposed to provide, and it was created specifically for his medical management. When I requested a copy, the MCO denied it, claiming they did not have to provide that to me as it wasn't part of his medical record. Now, as I've done some digging and talking and research, this is a very common tactic. It's an assertion of power designed to make you give up. Intimidation, anyone? I had to write back, quoting federal law, specifically HIPAA Rule 45, CFR 164.524, explaining to them that because the document was used to make payment, claims, and medical management decisions for my son, it was legally part of what is referred to as his designated record set. And HIPAA means I have a right to access this. They don't agree. I had to threaten to file a complaint with the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services Office for Civil Rights. And this was an attempt to change their mind, saying, hey, look, you keep going down this road, I'm going to have to file this complaint. They insisted it's not part of the set. I responded again and quoted federal law, very explicitly laying out that, yes, indeed, you are violating federal law by not giving me this. So then I followed through. I have the receipt for that, and it feels pretty good holding that, right? Maybe, just maybe, somebody will step in and say, hey, you're wrong. You're doing the wrong thing. They are legally entitled to those documents. Give it to them. But this could be months down the road. And they know that. This is a war of attrition. They are experts at winning it. And they are enabled, absolutely enabled, by the very state entities meant to protect us. And let's be clear about HS's motivations. My previous scripts have noted that there's a perception for too many of us that many of those people of the upper echelon of HHS, they have forgotten their mission. They have been more worried about their own personal careers and aren't as concerned with their mission of fulfilling their obligations, right? This has been overshadowed by concerns for their own pay, their own benefits, their climb up to the next rung of the promotional ladder. This isn't necessarily about, those direct payoffs from MCOs to the HHS, but it's about a culture where avoiding problems and maintaining career progression takes precedence over aggressive oversight, all the way up to the director's office. When the bureaucracy is designed to protect itself, it inherently protects those it's supposed to regulate. And in this case, it's the MCOs. There's backroom deals, right? They might not be in the form of secret handshakes in a smoky room, but it's more about the opaque and devastating relationships that MCOs have with healthcare providers even. The providers, the therapists, the doctors, the treatment centers, they're often forced to accept incredibly low reimbursement rates to be considered in-network. This is a pressure tactic. The MCOs control the flow of patients. In other words, they control the money. They tell providers, if you want to do business in this town, you play by our rules. The result is that many of the best providers simply can't afford to take Medicaid patients, which leaves families with an illusion of choice. But it gets worse. Sometimes the providers themselves become part of the problem. Now, in my son's case, and at some point I think I'll do a deep dive into this facility, but for right now it can stay nameless. And he was placed in this facility under one of these agreements, and due to their negligence, he was the victim of a sexual assault. And this was done by another client. And instead of acknowledging this profound trauma as the cause of his subsequent behavioral crisis, as a factor in some of his outbursts, the facility used this trauma-induced behaviors, used them to justify getting rid of him. Not only that, they even threatened to file a denial of critical care abuse report against us, the parents, to try and coerce us into waiving our legal rights under our adoption decree. The ultimate betrayal, right? The very people that are being paid by these MCOs to care for your child use trauma that they allowed to happen due to their negligence as a weapon against the family. And I could go on and on. I like I said, one day I will do a deep dive into this facility, but I'm gonna hold off. I'll give them a chance to respond to a few of these situations and work through a few issues with me before I go down that road, but it will happen. Ultimately, they essentially abandoned him, and he was placed in an emergency placement elsewhere. But the ones who suffer from these deals and these betrayals are kids like my son and families like ours. We are the ones left with the illusion of a choice, holding a list of facilities and doctors, etc., that won't see my son. They'll be placed in facilities that aren't the best fit, that might not be able to provide services that are needed, but are better than what we can do in a home. And we're left fighting a system that is designed, not seems designed, is designed to protect profits, not people. So what do we do? What do we do? What do you do when you're facing a powerful, entrenched organization that seems to operate with impunity? You shine a light on it. You talk about it. You refuse to be intimidated. Fine, MCO, tell me no. I'll take it higher. You're not going to shut me up. Fine, I'll air my dirty laundry. You want to know the challenges families face? Here, I'll start with mine. I'll invite others to do the same, because I'm not alone. The more we talk about it, the more we refuse to be intimidated, the more we demand transparency from our state leaders, the more we'll push back and have a chance at change. Why are these contracts with MCOs so favorable to the companies and so difficult for patients? We have to demand better. We have to demand better reimbursement rates so that providers can actually afford to offer care, one, and we have to support the frontline advocates and legal aid organizations that are fighting these denials. They fight them case by case every single day. I just had a meeting with an amazing lawyer today, and we talked about this very issue, and there's just so many cases, so little time, and there's no money in it. A lot of lawyers are going after the bigger cases, right? They want something they can make a quick buck off of to prop up their firm and be able to pay salaries, etc. We don't have that in this field. We have the true golden hearts in legal aid, and they need support because this isn't a system that's working efficiently. For too many, it's a protection racket where the price of entry is your family's well-being, and the cost of failure is borne by Iowa's most vulnerable families. And it's time that we as a state refused to pay it. Because let's call it what it is. Based on my experience, based on the stories I've seen, managed care organizations are corrupt corporations that value profit at the expense of children and families. I can't say it any more clearly. Corrupt, period, full stop. They don't fear legal repercussions. Why? They're so big. They are so integrated into our state's budget that they feel untouchable. They flaunt federal laws with a smugness that is one of an old-time gangster, knowing that the cost of fighting them is too high for most families to bear. It's too high for my family to bear. But what they don't realize is I just don't care. I'm going to demand change, no matter the cost. And there's been personal cost. No matter the cost, I'm pushing it, and I hope you'll join me in it. They operate in the shadows, making deals that benefit their bottom line, while our children pay the price. It's not just a broken system. It's a system it's working exactly as it was designed. It's working for them, not for us. This is going to be the legacy of Iowa Republicans and Democrats alike. This is what you will be remembered for when your terms are over. You will be remembered as the lackeys of a system that bled its people dry, unless you stand up and fight for what is right. Be vocal. The time for niceties is over. The time for sternness is here. You will be the ones known as the people who offered up our most vulnerable as a way to kiss the ring of the dawn, unless you change it, unless you send these thugs packing. We need them out of Iowa, out of Iowans' lives, out of Iowans' medical decisions. We need them out. So we've laid out the problem. We've talked about the power dynamics, the profit motives, and the personal devastation. It can leave you feeling completely helpless, like you're just a lone citizen up against a powerful, untouchable family. But here's the thing about powerful families. They thrive in the shadows, and they rely on you not knowing their playbook. They count on you being too exhausted, too overwhelmed, and too uninformed to disrupt their business. So let's change that. Let's talk about how to fight back, not with their rules, but by leveraging their own weaknesses. And based on my own brutal experience, here are a few things every Iowan needs to know when dealing with any member of an MCO, whether it's a Iowa Total Care employee, AmeriHealth Caritas Iowa, AmeriHealth Iowa. Think of these as your tools of disruption. First, sunshine is the best disinfectant. You have a right to your records. This is one of the most powerful tools you have. In my own fight, and it's ongoing, the MCO is trying to deny me access to my legally obligated medical, my son's, in this case, legally obligated medical files, and specifically the single case agreement. They're trying to claim it's not part of the medical records. And this document was crucial because it outlined the specific financial obligations and terms for my son's care. They want to keep it a secret. They want to keep their operations opaque and prevent you from having the evidence that you need. They wanted me just to back down, but I know better. Under a federal law called HIPAA, you have the right to what's called your designated record set. This isn't just your doctor's notes. It includes any document used by the insurance company, MCOs, for payment, claims, or medical management decisions. Now, write back if you're ever denied. Cite HIPAA. Explain to them that the document was used to make payments, claims, and medical management decisions, like it was for my son, and that it is legally part of his designated record set. And I do have a right to access it. I had to threaten to file a complaint, and I followed through and did it. Know this. If a document is being used to make decisions about your care or your child's care, you have a right to see it. Demand it. Make them show their hand. If they deny it, that is just one sign that there is something shady going on. Second, they hate a paper trail. You have the right to appeal in writing. When an MCO denies a service or anything along those lines, they are legally required to provide you with a reason in writing and inform you of your right to an appeal. It's not a suggestion, it's a legal requirement. Do not always accept a phone call denial. Always demand everything in writing. A no from the MCO is often just the beginning of the fight, not the end. You can file an internal appeal with the MCO, and they can deny it again. You can request an external independent review. Every time you appeal, every time you put it in writing, you create a paper trail. And powerful organizations like the family, they hate a paper trail because it leaves evidence. Third, there are higher authorities. You have the right to complain. These MCOs are not above the law, even if they act like they are untouchable. If you believe your rights have been violated, you can and should file formal complaints. If it's a HIPAA violation, like my fight for my son's records, you can file a complaint with the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services Office for Civil Rights, or OCR. And I'm going to put a link to that on my webpage. I'm doing my best to gather all the support tools that families like mine and yours, if you're listening, need in this current system. If it's a problem with a denial of service, you can file a complaint with the Iowa Insurance Division. These agencies exist to hold these organizations accountable. Think of it as going to the feds when the local family is out of control. It disrupts their comfort, forces them to respond, and creates a record of their problematic practices. These rights, the right to your records, the right to appeal in writing, the right to complain to higher authorities, these are your disruption tools. But I would take it a step further. Make noise, share, talk about it, right? Yes, it would be much easier for me just to stay quiet about this. I have gotten pushback from a lot of people on this, HHS and MCOs included. Now, they won't officially say that, but yeah, when things change as drastically as they do and as quickly as you do, it's not too hard to see where the issue might be coming from. But we need to demand accountability. Share your stories publicly. Don't be ashamed, because you're not in the wrong. They are. The more we understand their playbook, the harder it is for them to operate in the shadows. I want to ask you to do one thing today. Share this episode. Share it with a friend, with a legislator, with someone who still believes this isn't happening in Iowa. And if you're a parent, a provider, or someone living through this system, reach out. You are not alone. You can email me at chad@letstalkiowa.com or find more information at our website, letstalkiowa.com. Because this isn't just a podcast. It's the beginning of a conversation we've needed for too long. Every share helps raise awareness, and every conversation starts with a story. Follow us on Facebook at Let's Talk Iowa and on Instagram at Let's Talk Iowa Podcast for episode updates, behind-the-scenes content, and ways to take action. Because truth changes policy, and Iowa families deserve better. Truth matters, families matter, you matter. Let's Talk Iowa. We'll see you next time. It's the beginning of a conversation we've needed for too long. Stop staying silent. Let's talk Iowa. Let's keep going.